Spoilers ahead. Watch out, and take care. The movie begins in 1989. Henry Altman, a very happy guy, lives the perfect life with his wife, Bette Altman, and their two small children. However, 25 years later, he has become an incredibly angry, bitter and resentful man, as a result of the tragic death of his oldest son 2 years ago. He gets stopped in traffic on his way to his doctor's appointment, and when he finally gets out, his car is hit by a cab, prompting him to lash out at the driver, a lubik, threatening to cancel his license, and even making racist remarks about him. To make matters worse, when Henry eventually gets to the hospital, he is kept waiting for his appointment for 2 hours. Meanwhile, Dr. Sharon Gill is having a bad day. Her cat died recently, someone spilled coffee on her on the bus, and she is swamped with patients since she is covering Dr. Fielding's shift, who requested for this favor while sleeping with her in the hospital's boiler room. Sharon is emotionally weary. She doesn't care about her patients as much as she did when she was a rookie doctor and thought she could make a difference in the world, and she even uses pills to get through the day. Henry is her next patient, and he starts whining as soon as he sees her, only stopping when she tells him he has a large brain aneurysm near the brain stem, which means he doesn't have much time to live. She wants him to consult a neurologist for any more information that only a specialist can provide, but he becomes angry and demands more, forcing her to tell him how much time he has left. She feels trapped, panics and uses the first number she finds on a magazine cover, 90 minutes. He finds the idea absurd and enraging, and leaves the hospital, and hails a cab after realizing his car's tire is flat. While waiting for the driver to get out of the traffic, the first stage of sorrow and denial slowly fades from his mind, as he begins to understand that he genuinely only has an hour to live, and that he should be determining what to do with this precious little time remaining. Back in the hospital, Sharon knows she has made a terrible mistake, and attempts unsuccessfully to contact Henry at his home and office. Feeling extremely bad, she discusses the situation with her coworker, Dr. Jordan Reed, and concludes that she must go out there and find Henry, in order to officially admit him to the hospital, and make him Dr. Fielding's issue, before she loses her license. Her coworker calls her while she tries to get a cab to Henry's office, and tells her two very important things. Henry's file is full of complaints, so his credibility is almost non-existent, and after showing the scans to a friend in radiology, he has learned that Henry has already started bleeding through his walls, which means he could die any moment. In any case, Sharon needs to find him, before he dies or destroys her career. Unsure of what to do next, Henry rushes to the legal practice he co-manages with his brother, Aaron Altman, and disrupts a meeting with 2 clients, to seek guidance on what he should tell a client, realizing he only has 90 minutes to live. Going to a temple, going to a massage parlor to hire a hustler, going to the greatest meal in town, or even killing someone for the welfare of society are all suggestions. Another man tells him to make love to his wife, and spend the last moments with his family, because at the end of the day, it is all we have. He rushes out of the office to go see them, but Aaron stops him, wondering why his brother isn't considered family as well. He believes Henry has deteriorated recently, and finds the prospect of him visiting his family absurd. He has done nothing except quarrel with his wife for the last 2 years, and his son refuses to speak to him. Aaron believes that reconciliation in 90 minutes is impossible, and that Henry should choose the harlot, a remark that causes Henry to chuckle and hug Aaron, before leaving. After instructing his secretary to contact the 25 most important people from his youth, and request a 30-minute meeting in a restaurant, Henry creates a to-do list that includes writing his own obituary, getting drunk, and contacting his son Tommy, who he hasn't spoken to in a long time, due to a major disagreement about his future. He had paid for the best legal school available, but Tommy didn't want to be a lawyer like his father and uncle, he wanted to be a dancer. Henry was enraged, especially because he had already produced business cards with the family name 3 times to represent the 3 of them. Tommy has since built a very successful dance academy, which Henry attempts to contact in order to speak with him, but Tommy refuses, and instructs his receptionist to take the message. Sharon comes to the Altman offices and speaks with Aaron, informing him what happened, despite the fact that it violates confidentiality laws, because she deems it an unusual emergency. Aaron agrees to assist her in finding him. Back to Henry, he goes to meet his wife after purchasing a bunch of flowers. She is enjoying tea with their neighbor, Frank. He tries to kick Frank out, so he can make love to Bette, and he says this out loud, which makes her stressed, especially because they haven't touched each other in 2 years. She doesn't think he can make up for years of being horrible to her with a rushed moment of intimacy, and as their argument heats up, and the subject of Peter's death comes up, she begins crying, and admits that she's been having an affair with Frank, because Henry has been emotionally unavailable since they lost their son. He storms out of the house, furious, while she tosses the flowers he purchased her at the door. Aaron and Sharon arrive at the house soon after he leaves, and inform Bet of the situation, and she attempts to call Henry. At that moment, Aaron's secretary calls him, and informs him of the upcoming party, so they immediately go to catch him there. Henry tries to call Tommy's academy again, and the song that plays while he waits reminds him of a party they had 2 years ago. When the receptionist eventually answers his call and informs him that Tommy has left for lunch, he becomes enraged, and begins yelling, demanding to speak with his son, forcing the receptionist to hang up. This enrages him even more, prompting him to smash his phone on the ground. Following that, he dashes through the streets of Brooklyn, to the restaurant his secretary had scheduled for the celebration, only to be astonished and saddened to learn that the only person who has arrived is his high school best buddy, Bix Field, who he hasn't seen in 43 years. Henry informs him he has less than an hour to live, and while Bix initially expresses concern, he quickly begins talking about himself and trivial details of his indolent life, even bringing up a high school crush, who he believes Henry took from him back then. They end up shouting and abusing each other, before Henry leaves. Aaron and the women arrive a second too late, once more, so they decide to split up to cover more ground. Aaron returns to the workplace, Bet to her residence, and Sharon is left walking the streets alone, with regrets. There isn't much time left, and Henry isn't sure he'll make it to the academy building on time, so he goes into an electronics store, and buys a video camera after a long and frustrating conversation with the stuttering clerk, a model to use without recharging the battery first. Due to his lack of skill with cameras, Henry approaches a bunch of people, and begs one of them to record him. He begins talking to Tommy, telling him how he never stopped loving him, and admitting how wrong he was, and as he begins to mention all of his regrets, the subject of Peter comes up, causing him to enter another fit of rage, that triggers his aneurysm, and knocks him out. When he wakes up a few minutes later, he realizes he can't even tell his son he loves him without exploding in wrath. Bet calls Tommy after much deliberation, and informs him of Henry's situation, making him feel awful for not returning his calls. Meanwhile, Sharon hears Henry's enraged voice at that moment, and follows it into an alley, where she finds the video camera with the botched tape. Desperate to find him, Sharon gives the person all her pills in exchange for information that Henry has gone to the Brooklyn Bridge, to plunge into the river, and she immediately goes after him. At the bridge, Henry recalls visiting here with young Tommy, and dancing beneath the rain, but that memory is quickly followed by the day adult Tommy abandoned him, so he gives up and prepares to jump. Sharon then appears and tells him that the 90 minutes were never real, and discloses all of her problems, so he can know she is earnest in her desire to assist him, pointing out that if he jumps, both of their lives would be irreparably wrecked. While she regards 90 minutes as a random useless number, he regards them as significant, since they have given him a new life perspective, and since those 90 minutes have not yet expired, he resolves to jump from the bridge to end his time, before it runs out on its own. As he falls, he learns that every minute of your life counts, and that you may provide something valuable and exceptional, but regrettably, he has this thought just before dying, which makes him even angrier. Sharon, on the other hand, does not give up, and hurries to the shore to find his floating body. She dives into the sea and swims to him, grabbing him and dragging him back to land. She wants to rush him to the hospital, but he wants to see his son first, because he still has 19 minutes from the initial 90. Sharon offers him a deal: she will take him to see his son, in exchange for a promise to remain calm to benefit his health, and after the family reunion, he must agree to allow her to take him to the hospital without protest. He agrees to the deal. While Tommy continues to phone his father, Henry and Sharon take a slow-moving cab. Henry knows the driver is a Lugbik, who is using the chance to get retribution for what happened earlier in the morning. He starts arguing with Henry, and even sprays them with pepper spray, so Henry bites him before stepping out of the car to confront him. Before any of the men can react, Sharon grabs the pepper spray, and sprays a Lugbik and kicks him. Then she tells Henry to get in the car, and they steal the cab together, leaving a Lugbik behind. She isn't a great driver, but she manages, and they start talking about Aaron, Henry's sons, and sibling relationships, which Sharon never had. She was never worried by the fact that she was an only child when she was younger, but now she wonders who will be there for her on key occasions, such as death. Fortunately, they arrive at the academy before time runs out. Henry discovers Tommy listening to the song they danced to on the bridge that day, and invites him to reenact the dance with him now. Tommy obviously accepts, and as they begin to dance together, he takes advantage of the chance to hug his father for the first time in 2 years. Sharon then drives Henry to the hospital as scheduled, and on the way, he asks her what she would do if she knew when she was going to die. She says she'll try to be happy, and he says she should do that, and he doesn't want to know any more when he'll die. After that, Henry lives for another 8 days, which he spends at the hospital reconnecting with Bet, Tommy and Aaron. During those 8 days, he never gets angry, except at the very end, when he insults Death for coming after him. Sharon quits her job the next day, as well as her medicines, and starts a new position at a free clinic, where she can help people the way she's always wanted to. She also gets a cat and starts dating Aaron, and the two, along with Tommy, his girlfriend, Bet and Frank take a ferry ride, to spread Henry's ashes on the East River. When the captain catches them doing this, he chastises them, and they respond by berating him in Henry's manner as an honor. The end. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this. Turn on the notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out.